Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We'll wait a few more minutes for more people to join, and then we can get started with our topic of the day. But whilst we're waiting, I'm now going to launch a poll. So it would be great if you could answer the poll on your screens, as it's really useful for us to understand the kinds of user permissions we have on our webinar today. So you should be able to see the poll on your screen. So we'll give it a few minutes, and it would be great if you could answer the poll that you can see. We already have a few admin users, which is great to see. This webinar will be very useful for admin users as well. Okay, I think we'll be able to start now. So I'm now going to end the poll. Okay, perfect. So welcome everyone, and welcome to the second webinar of our new ArtLogic product-based webinar series. Really happy to have you all here today. So before we start, I'd like to quickly introduce myself. My name is Suvin, and I'm the Customer Engagement Specialist here at ArtLogic. I'm also joined by my colleague Stefania, our Customer Engagement Team Lead. Today, I'm looking forward to guiding you through getting the most out of your core preferences, which means we'll explore some key areas of core preferences and share some key tips to ensure you are getting the most out of your management system. Throughout the webinar, Stefania will be available to answer your questions as they come in and share some interesting and relevant guides related to the topics we discussed today. But first, let's kick off with some housekeeping rules. The webinar will run for approximately 30 to 35 minutes. We will not have a Q&A segment in the end. However, we do welcome questions. So if you have any, please submit them in the Q&A feature of Zoom, and we will do our best to address them during the webinar. If we don't get to your question, don't worry, we will reach out to you right after the webinar to answer your questions. So do keep an eye out for an email from the engagement team. Lastly, keep an eye on the chat where Stefania will be dropping some help articles that might be useful for you to bookmark for future reference. Now, today, let's go over the agenda. So we'll be going through a quick overview of core preferences and its purpose. This webinar is focused on core preferences that can be amended by admin users only. However, this webinar is still very useful to those with other permissions, as this will provide you with key takeaways to feedback to your organization. We'll then explore some key core preferences that could be useful to your organization and uncover some preferences that you may not even know about today. We'll then be demonstrating some of those key preferences and show you how they translate into your system. And lastly, share some key tips before we summarize and wrap up the webinar. So some key takeaways we really expect you to gain from this session are understanding the role of core preferences, key core preferences that could be valuable to your organization and how they translate into the system, and then taking away core tips to ensure you're getting the most out of your core preferences and your management system in general. So without further ado, let's dive into today's topic. Please excuse me as I turn my head to my left because I'll be sharing my screen. So I will stop sharing this screen for now, and then I will share the management system, and then I can dive into today's webinar. So let me share my screen again. And I believe that I'm sharing my screen now, and you should all be able to see your screens. So perfect. So let's navigate to core preferences. So to navigate to your core preferences, you will go to Other at the top of your navigation bar, Admin, then Preferences and Core Preferences. Now, below Core Preferences, you're able to see Gallery Preferences. This is something that you'll be able to see if you have the multi-gallery feature turned on. This allows you to turn on specific preferences for a specific gallery. Stefania should have shared a help article about the multi-gallery feature, so please do have a read if that is something of interest to you. Now, let's click on core preferences. So core preferences really allows you to tailor your system to suit your organization's needs. Therefore, you can select to turn on a range of optional fields, enter default text, turn on functionalities, and choose from default settings to customize your system and then really make it your own. For today's webinar, I will focus on general, contacts, artworks, private views, accounts, and invoices. So let's begin with the general tab. The general tab is where you establish the core information that is applied to your entire system, such as your gallery's address and logo. And I'll be drawing your attention to three main areas within this general tab. So firstly, as I scroll down, we'll be going over document templates. Now, document templates is where you can create and upload template documents with your own headers, footers, fonts, and styles when generating your ArtLogic invoices and documents to really make it your own and really align to your organization. Now, if you would like to learn more about document templates, then please tune in to our next webinar. I'll be going into more detail about creating documents and reports. Now, as we scroll down, we have currencies. This is where you'll be able to set your default and local currencies. So your default currency refers to the one first used when you create a new artwork or artwork record or invoice. Your local currency refers to the currency of the gallery's home country. So for example, if your local currency is in pounds and you raise an invoice in dollars, the system will then ask for an exchange rate to the local currency so figures can appear in pounds in accounts reports. Below that, we have your availabilities. This is where you can set the availabilities and how they appear for selling in invoices and offers, but also your online store. The online store is available for users who have an integrated system with ArtLogic. You can also see that it says edition records only. This means that only edition records can be sold in the online store and not an edition data record. It is really important that you set your availabilities accurately, because if they are not checked in the core preferences, then they will not appear in the front end of the system. And in turn, you'll be unable to sell those artworks. So before we move on to the next part of the webinar, I'd firstly like to show you how to create a document template. So I'll minimize this screen here. Now, for the sake of this webinar, I've created a document template. Here, all you would need to do is open up a Word document and add a header. That can be your organization's name or your organization's logo. And as we scroll down, you would want to add a footer here. I've added the address, but that's completely up to you and what you would like to add as your footer. Of course, you want to add the contents of your document here. And also remember afterwards, when you're happy with everything, you would want to click save so that you're saving it to your desktop or your laptop. Now, when we go back to the management system, here you'll be able to see attached documents. Click attach documents and find that particular template that you have created. Click open, then the system will tell you when it's uploaded. Now, here you can click the drop-down menu and you'll be able to find that document that you have created here, and you'll be able to attach it in the areas where necessary. And once you're happy, please remember to click save to save those changes. I also want to draw your attention to availabilities and how they translate into the system. So here you can see there are various availabilities that are checked. Now, for the sake of this webinar, if we wanted to sell a stock or gift donated artwork or artworks, but if they are unchecked in the system, I will show you how this will translate into the system here. I'll firstly click save. Now, when we go to our artworks list, I will select an artwork that is of that availability, such as this one. And as you can see on the right-hand side, it says stock gift donated. Now, I want to isolate this artwork, and the easiest way to do this is to click the blue flag at the top here, click unflag all, and click OK. then click that particular artwork, flag that artwork, and then click the blue flag at the top again and click Find Flagged, and that will isolate that artwork for you. Now at the bottom here, click Sell Offer Share, click Sell These Artworks, and now you can see the system says 0 records have been found. Now this is because in the availabilities, you have unchecked the stock gift donated availability, meaning that particular artwork is unable to be sold. Therefore, it is very important that you check your availabilities properly in the core preferences. Now we can move on to the contacts. So the contacts tab is where you can hide or enable fields relating to your contacts in the system. As you can see, there are various preferences here. I'll just draw your attention to some preferences that I think will be valuable to your organization. Now, you can choose to hide own works by on the preview pane. So this will hide the artworks bought by contacts in the system, making this information solely private and confidential, as there might be times where you might need to do that. You can also set the consultant field to be read-only for non-admin users, meaning that leads are solely exclusive to specific salespeople, and these are not editable. As we slowly scroll down, we also have the ability to not automatically set contacts that have signed up to your mailing list as hidden. So in essence, your mailing list, whether it is feeding from an ArtLogic website or a third-party provider via an API connection, this is connected to your contacts inventory in your management system. So by default, any new subscribers will be saved in your system as hidden contacts because you might not need to reach out to every single person who subscribes to your mailing list. However, if we turn this preference on, this means that all these contacts will be able to be seen in your main view of your contacts list. Please note that even though the contacts are hidden, this will still count your maximum number of contacts you can have on your mailing list as well. So that's very important to note. Under the categories and interest section here, if we enable this preference, you can allow all users to create categories, interests, and value lists. By default, this is only available to admin users, but by turning this on, you're allowing all users in the organization to better organize your contacts, whether that is to create contacts, categories, or interests and value lists. Now, as we scroll down, we have custom fields. This is where you can write your own custom fields depending on what suits your preferences. So you could categorize your contacts depending on what list they belong to, just as an example. So if we toggle this on, we might want to categorize our contacts to a preview list as an example. So we want to write preview. So these custom text fields will not only appear in your contact records, but they'll also appear alongside your update multiple, your custom Excel report, advanced report, and advanced search. Now, when you're happy with all of your preferences, please remember to click Save. We will now navigate to contacts. I will just refresh the page here, and I will show you how some of these preferences translate. So as I said before, when you do have your contacts set, when you do have your contacts that are going into your hidden list, to see where your contacts are going, if they are going to your hidden list from a mailing list, at the top here, where it says main, click the drop-down menu and then click hidden contacts. This is where those contacts will appear if you have chosen to hide those contacts from your mailing list. However, when you have set that preference on and you want all contacts to go into your main view, this is where they will appear from the mailing list. So any new subscribers will appear here. When we go into the contacts again and we click a particular contact and we go to the pencil edit icon and open the contact record, as we scroll down, we can see our custom field has been added here. So here you can write any notes that will be useful to you and the organization. I will now show you how your custom field will appear in advanced search as well. So by clicking into the search field and then clicking advanced search, you can then see, you can then click write preview, and you can see that the preview and the custom field appears in your advanced search as well. Let's move on to artworks in the core preferences. So in artworks, you can also see there are various preferences for you to play around with. So I'll draw your attention to a few that will be useful to your organization. So you may want to set a default status and a default tax status. So any new artwork records that you create in the system will have that default status and tax status. Down below, you may also want to show artist dates field and the signed and dated field. By default, these are turned off in the system. And also, please do note that any clients that might have migrated from another system via our bespoke onboarding services, we will have imported that data, but because these preferences are disabled, you may not be able to see them. So please always check to see if these preferences are enabled. Down below, you can show the consultant field as well. This is particularly useful if you would like to know which salesperson has been responsible, has dealt with a particular artwork. And you can also select to include all images when publishing private views and reports. So if you have additional images that you would like to include in private views and reports, please select this preference. Alternatively, if this is not ticked in core preferences, you can do this individually in each artwork record in the images tab. But of course, it's easier if you have this ticked in the core preferences itself. We can now scroll down and you can also enable the sold to a public collection. This is particularly helpful for tracking purposes, but also useful for artists using the artwork inventory. Just below that, you can also assign a default consignment percentage that goes to the gallery. But as the system suggests, if this is unknown or it is not a fixed rate, then please do leave this blank. We also give you an entire section for preview pane and layouts. And as I said before, this is completely up to you depending on how you want to customize your system and what works for you. So as an example, you may want to hide the purchase price and you may want to hide the sold to on the location tab of the preview pane, but please have a play around with these and see what works for you. In the edition of record section here, we have the update unsold edition and prices from edition data record preference toggled on. This means that the edition records are pulling in the prices from the edition data record. However, there may be cases where you want to edit the prices individually of the edition records. So you want to toggle this off so that you can do so. We also provide a powerful tool called the activity timeline. This is an amazing tool to track your documentation, track artwork movement history, and generate any reports. This really gives you the power to track notes really accurately in the system. Please do also note that this is included in artist and gallery plans only. As we previously saw in the contact section, we provide custom fields again. So depending on what suits your preferences, this is very different for every organization. You may also be a client who's migrated from another provider and the ArtLogic system may not have the equivalent field. So custom fields will be your best friend here. So you can add a custom field that works for you. So for an example, if we turn this on, we might want to write inscription as a custom field as an example. And just as I said before, this will appear alongside your update multiple, custom Excel report, advanced report, and advanced search. Now click save again to make sure that you have saved all your changes, and then we can navigate to our artworks list. To see how some of those preferences translate, let's choose an edition record that has not been sold. So let's select this edition record and click the edit pencil edit icon here. Then we can then go to the financial tab at the top here. And as we scroll down, you can see that the retail price field is editable and I can edit the prices accordingly. Now, if that preference was turned on, this will not be editable and the price will be pulling in from the edition data record. Now I will demonstrate how the activity timeline works. So for the sake of the webinar, I will select one artwork. So I will just click unflag all again and select this artwork and then click find flagged. Now we've isolated one artwork. Now go down to the bottom of the screen and click create and then click documents and reports. For today, I want to create a shipping invoice. By selecting shipping invoice and then selecting save document and record shipment, we'll keep this information the same, click action and then click generate shipping invoice. We'll click OK to proceed. And then we're presented with the option to view and edit in the activity timeline. We'll click this. And as you can see, we can see this as shipping invoice within the activity timeline alongside other information. And again, this is great for tracking purposes. If you want to see your activity timeline as a whole, then what you can do is go to the navigation bar at the top, click on artworks, scroll down to activity timeline, and then click all, and you'll be able to see everything that's within your activity timeline presented here. Now let's move on to private views. Within private views, you have the ability to change various fields. So you can add a default gallery name. So for today's webinar, I'll just do an abbreviation of Canvas Gallery. And then you can add a courtesy line. So here I will write courtesy of Canvas Gallery here. And you also may want to show secondary installation view images. So this is great for additional images, which you might want to show in the app to clients. So we can toggle this on. And then you can also set a default price option, whether that's excluding or including tax. And down below, you can set your status and availabilities and then customize how those color dots appear. So please note that any artworks that are marked as available, that color dot will not appear in the private view. So I will click save again, and we can see how this translates in the private view section of the management system. So I have created a private view for this webinar so that I can show you clearly what this will look like. You can see the default gallery name is presented here very clearly. As we scroll down, we can see the courtesy line is presented at the bottom. And then you can see the availability dots appearing here in the private view. Now, you may also notice that this artwork doesn't have an availability dot. That is because the artwork is available. And as I said previously, available artworks will not have a colored dot appear in the private view. We can now move on to accounts. In accounts here, there is one preference that I think is it will be very, very valuable to every organization, which is to show salespeople in account records. So this is to really track the accountability of certain salespeople and show who was responsible for the sale. And you'll also be able to see the commission, the finder's fee to the salesperson in the accounts. So I will click save again and navigate to accounts here. I'll refresh the page. And here you can see we're presented with the sales commission, that is 10%. Then here, if we click into the pencil edit icon of the account record, we can see who it was sold by as well. And you can clearly see the salesperson and their commission too. We can now finally navigate to invoices in core preferences. So here you can choose how you want your invoice formatted depending on what you would like your invoice to look like. You can set a default template, including your headers and footers. You can add a default heading, and you can also change the dates format, and you can also choose an invoice number prefix. If you prefer not to have a prefix, just enter nothing in the field. And when you click the information boxes, the system also aids you with that. Moreover, with invoices with more than one item, the default is to show item particulars such as production costs. But of course, if you would like this to be hidden, then you can disable this in the preference. This is entirely up to you. Down below, you can enable to allow additional artwork fields. So this can be things like provenance and literature. This, again, is up to you, depending on what you would like to show in the invoice. You can also prompt to update the current owner when that changes, so the system can easily do that for you as well. And you can also toggle on show invoice warnings. So if there are any areas that are missing or incorrect in the invoice, the system will flag this to you for you to correct. So for example, if the tax on the invoice does not match the tax on the artwork, the system will flag this and you can change those details accordingly. So we'll click save here. And then we can navigate to invoices so that you can see clearly how this will translate for you. So we'll click into the top invoice here, click the pencil edit icon. And then at the bottom here, please click settings. And then on the right-hand side, let's navigate to display settings here. And here you can see that the additional artwork fields have been added. And depending on what you want in these invoices, you can add provenance, you can add the description, you can add exhibitions and literature, entirely up to you to customize. Now, when we look into the invoice as well, we're presented with the warnings. So if we click the drop-down arrow here, it tells you why there is a warning status. Now we can see that the tax status does not match. So please navigate to the bottom again, click settings. We'll scroll up to the tax section, scroll down, and then in the tax section here, we can change the tax here to match what was on the artworks, and we'll click 0 rated. And as you can see, the warning signs have disappeared. Remember to click save. Now, with the preferences, we've also allowed the system to prompt us to change the owner. So here, let's change the owner by removing this contact, and we can change it to a new contact here. What we'll do is click save again. Make sure to click OK. Now, on the action bar at the bottom, click action, and we'll regenerate this sales invoice. As we've changed the contact, please click OK. And now you can see the system then prompts us to change the current owner and update it. We'll click OK, and then we will click view in artwork so I can show you what this looks like. We'll click into an artwork record, click the pencil edit icon. We'll now scroll down to current owner. As you can see, the system has automatically changed the owner for us, but below you can also see the previous owners as well. And this is again great for tracking purposes and accountability. So this really wraps up our webinar on core preferences today. I'm now going to stop sharing my screen so I can show you some additional information on the presentation. So please do bear with me. Perfect. You should be able to see the slide now. So when approaching core preferences in the system, it's very useful to understand your organization's needs and tailor those core preferences to them. It's also important to note that even though when you do hide the fields, users do not lose the data in those fields. And if certain fields are not showing in the front end of the system, please always check that you have enabled them in the core preferences first. And lastly, it sounds very obvious, but please always remember to click save because you want to see those changes you want to see those changes reflected in the system. So please do remember that. So these are very simple reminders that will help you save time and enhance your overall ArtLogic management system experience. So if you do need further assistance, visit the ArtLogic Help Center for a wealth of resources. We have a lot of resources there, so please do and go have a read. We also encourage you to explore core preferences and try out some core preferences we covered today. But if you're ever in need of more training, just contact the support team for more personalized sessions. Alternatively, if you have enjoyed this webinar, make sure to sign up for our future ones too. You can check the full schedule link that Stefania will be putting in the chat. And do not worry if you weren't able to follow the whole webinar. After the webinar is over, we'll share the recording as well as the slides. So as I said at the beginning of today's webinar, if we have not been able to answer your questions today, do not worry, we will reach out to you after this webinar, or if you have any more questions, you're more than welcome to email us at engagement@artlogic.net. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope this session has been very helpful, and we hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.